Hi, my name's Ken Condon. I'm the host of a new show, Riding in the Zone. We're going to take you on a journey into the world of motorcycles, everything from flat track and road racing to riding the open road. We'll introduce you to people and happenings in the motorcycling community. We'll also give you insights on how to be the best rider you can be. Whether you love the speed and grace of the racetrack or the freedom of open spaces, Riding in the Zone will be a window into the wide world of motorcycling. Hi everybody, this is Ken Condon from Riding in the Zone. Today we have somebody in the studio who's a very interesting person, somebody I've known for a little while. She has a really interesting story about being a car racer, motorcycle rider. So let's welcome Stephanie Funk. Hi Stephanie, how are you?
Hi Ken, how are you?
I'm good. Tell us a little bit more about your whole car racing thing. That's pretty interesting.
Oh sure. Well, I kind of came into cars when I was in my teens when I started hanging around the racetracks. And I was working for the racetracks and became intrigued with the backside of the world of cars, kind of an eccentric group of people. Mm-hmm. And next thing I know, I found myself volunteering with Sports Car Club of America. I started working in corners, I started flagging, I started doing all kinds of things, started traveling around New England to follow the races. And then over the years, I got drawn in deeper and deeper and actually ended up marrying somebody who was a driver and my best friend, and in the process he ended up putting me in the front seat of the car as well. So about 20 some years ago now I started racing, and over the years it's taken us to a lot of different places, a lot of different events, and today we're actually chasing the majors in the Sports Car Club of America.
Right, that means that you're going to be traveling around, like more than just New England, right?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah. What other places are you going to be?
We went to Virginia last weekend. We're going to West Virginia in 2 weeks, Pittsburgh 2 weeks after that, Sonoma, California in June, New Jersey in the end of July, and then hopefully Sonoma, California for the runoffs, which will take place in October of 2018.
Nice. So what car are you racing now?
We're running a Honda CRX in what's called H production.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically, they're still recognizable street cars. We're allowed to do quite a bit of safety to them. We're allowed to gut them out more and to do suspension and some motor things to them. But there's some pretty stringent rule sets, so you can't get too crazy like with turbos or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
I'm real interested in how this all translates to your riding. But before we go there, tell us when you started riding and why you started riding.
Well, my first time I started riding, I was probably 17, and I was with somebody who at the time was a big BMW vintage motorcycle man. And he started me out on, I think it was like a 1950 something, it was like an R25, single cylinder, suicide shift. It sounded like a lock lawnmower.
Yeah.
I think the top speed was about 40 miles an hour. Yeah. But it was a blast. I mean, I didn't get to ride a lot on that, but it was a blast and I got pretty well hooked.
And when was that? How old were you?
I was probably 17 or 18, so it was back around 1980, in that range. Mm-hmm. Then I didn't have a bike for a long time. I missed it every day. And back around 2005, I think it was, I was commuting to work in an F-150. Mm-hmm. Gas was costing about $70 a week, and I thought, that's just adding insult to injury. I'm paying this much to go work. And at that point, it became a great excuse to buy a bike. So I went out and picked up just a little 250 Honda Nighthawk.
Those are like the bikes that the training companies use mostly for beginner riders. Yeah.
Yep. I wanted a bike that looked like a bike and just to get from point A to point B. And I rode that thing. I rode the wheels off it all summer. I rode it in pouring rain. I rode it in cold days. Put a little windshield on it, and you name it. And then in September, I ended up trading that in for a BMW 650 CS, which is similar to a dual sport, but it's CS means city street. They basically kind of refined it a little bit for commuting type things.
Well, that's a good all-around bike. It really will do a lot of things on it.
It is. It's been really enjoyable. Yeah. The one thing it wouldn't do was track days, and I thought about doing it with it, but the whole, again, like we were talking earlier, riding to the track and then becoming tired and having to ride home. So I kind of hesitated on that.
Yeah, no, that's true. There's a lot goes on. You can really
There is.
use a lot of physical and mental energy just doing track days, which I do want to talk about some track days a little bit later.
Absolutely.
So what do you have now for motors? You still have the CS, right? You
I
still
do.
have the BMW.
I do.
Do you ride that much?
I haven't been able to ride it much because my current job takes me on the road a lot. So frankly, coming home to ride for fun hasn't been a lot of,
Yeah,
you know.
isn't part of it, yeah.
But I picked up a Yamaha R3 back in 2015.
Which is a 300cc
Yes.
Yamaha, yeah.
Yes.
Cool bike when it came out, when it was announced, we were all like, wow, that looks like fun.
And that actually, I completely lay credit to my husband on that. I was looking to get a used 250 of some sort, something I could, move around, get to the track with, and wasn't too expensive. And he kept looking at the specs on this and saying, wow, this would be the one to go with. And I was saying, yeah, well, it's a lot of money for a track day bike. Unbeknownst to me, he went and ordered it. And then I didn't know anything about it until it was here, whatever, and he just sent me an email and said, oh, by the way, happy birthday, which totally floored me.
Yeah.
But
So that actually was another question I had, which you're partially answering, is this: your husband, your family supports what you do.
they do. There are limits to the support. He's been my rock and everything in all motorsports. He came to the track with bikes once and checked out Tony's track days with me. And after that, he's like, nope, I'm good. I don't need to go. And he's since told people, I can't watch her on track on a bike.
Yeah, because he's nervous to just seeing you go around like that, because it's different
Probably.
than cars. Yes,
It is.
there's a sense you can see that rider as opposed to
yeah.
a car driver. They're kind of enclosed.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
you get a sense of just almost how vulnerable you are, right?
And, in cars, he's had no problem sending me out with, one time I got sent out in a car that had virtually no brakes. And his response was, don't be a girl, drive it.
Yeah.
So I drove it, and basically every time I went into turn 3 at New Hampshire, I kind of sucked it up and managed to downshift and get the back end to fling around to get up the hill.
So there you go, new standard.
Yeah.
I had a similar situation where I it's a long story, but
Yeah.
I ended up with no brakes on my RD 400 at Loudon turn 3, and I learned to just go through turn 3 a whole heck of a lot faster than I had before.
So then you realize, oh, wow, I can do that.
Yeah, so that's cool. So your husband's really in there. So when you travel, is he? Yeah, is he your truck driver? You got your trailer. You're flying in sometimes, aren't you?
Yeah, this is with the cars. We all take turns driving. We have a 30-foot gooseneck that because we have a lot of stuff to carry. We have a great group of folks who goes with us. We've got Matt Mather, my #1 crew guy, tuner guy, fabricator guy, otherwise known as the Beeve. He's done a really wonderful job with some of the work on the car. Joel Porter DeVries is another regular who comes with us, and he's been a godsend with the wiring and the technical type things.
There's got to be a lot of support you need for a car.
Yeah.
For motorcycles, it's very helpful too. I actually met Stephanie when she started coming to Tony's Track Days, which is a track day organization that I work for, and she clearly showed a lot of potential. If you had to explain it in your words, what's a track day, motorcycle track day?
The simple explanation for me, track days are me time. Racing with the cars is about everybody and every one of us. There's a great deal of, pressure, I would say, you have to perform. You're one piece of that puzzle, and you all have to do your absolute best, and you all have to go and just try to do whatever it takes to win. Track day is about improving myself. It's about time to get out there and take the laps, and I'm happiest when I'm in a helmet, and I'm the most relaxed when I'm going like 90 miles an hour, literally. And there's times because everything goes away, your focus becomes the track, what you're doing, how it feels, what the bike sounds like, feels like, how it's shifting, how your body's shifting, all those things. There's no your boss. There's nothing about the overdue assignment. There's nothing about how am I going to do this tomorrow. It's all gone.
I relate to that. That's the title of this show, and also my book, Riding in the Zone. That's what that's about for me too, right? And I sometimes say that I'm my best self when I have a helmet on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the track time days are they're very relaxing, I find. They're very exhilarating at the same time. It's about finding my own limits, developing the limits, finding out what I can do better. And also, I've been meeting lots of really good people with Tony's, and new friendships and new viewpoints. And it's just, I come away from those days feeling really good.
So tell us about why you got into it, what sort of brought you over the edge
Sure.
from being anxious about it? And then you tell us about your first track day.
Oh, my first one was sort of entertaining. I had wanted to do track days. My husband knew it. And at New York Safety Track, you can actually rent a motorcycle and go out there and do a track day and everything. So he did that for me as an anniversary present. I went alone. I brought my own gear, had never ridden a sport bike. I'd ridden my CS, but not a sport bike. It was a 650 Suzuki GSX, I believe. So I'm sitting bolt upright on that thing, and I'm trundling around the track, and I had a grin from ear to ear inside my helmet.
There you go.
So yeah, it was. And later I thought, you know, it's kind of odd. I drove 3 hours to get there. Track I'd never seen, people I'd never met. I was totally comfortable with all of that experience. Thankfully, because of the cars, I can read pavement, I can read a line. That wasn't difficult. So really, it was not stressful, other than, you know, trying to figure out
Yeah.
holding the bike upright in the paddock.
Yeah.
That,
That whole thing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was the first one, and then after that, got the R3, and my second one was with you guys, and I did a couple a year for a couple of years, and last year I finally managed to get serious and get more seat time and more time out there.
And you did how many track days last
I think
year?
I did 8 total last year.
Yeah, so that's good. So one thing that I find is that when people are considering a track day, that they're really anxious.
Yeah.
And what would you say to people who are like, first off, they're like, I don't want to race, is what
Yeah,
they say.
yeah.
And then they also say, well, I don't want to crash my bike.
Yep.
Those are the things that we always hear.
Yep. They also say, I wish I could do that. And the short answer is you can. You absolutely can. We all have a comfort zone, and it's tough to get out of that, especially the older you get. The hardest step is going to be to come out of that comfort zone the first time. Once you do it, once you take that step, once you find out that, you know, it's intimidating to go somewhere and to be, oh, I don't know a soul here. Guess what? By the end of the day, you're going to know a lot of people there. Because one of the first things I found is I had people walking up to me, greeting me, you know, hi, I'm so-and-so, you need anything, I'm over here. If you never step out of the comfort zone and you never try it, you might find that the time goes away and then you can't try it anymore. And now maybe you're too old, maybe you're disabled, maybe something's happened.
Yeah.
So
you're encouraging, that's been
Absolutely.
the hardest thing for us oftentimes, is to sell this thing once people come and they realize
Yep.
this isn't what they thought it was, it's
Nope.
not this scary thing.
No.
That's what you've experienced.
yeah, very much so. I mean, you guys let people in for free to watch. Come check it out. Come walk around, talk to everybody, and see what it's like, and check out the bikes. It's, you know, the advanced riders, the black and blue group, they're pretty impressive to watch. They go through at race speed. But the red group and sometimes the yellow group, not so much. You know.
So that's the thing, is that when you have a track day organization, and here, you know, Tony's Track Days is something I've been with them for over 20 years,
Sure.
is that we built this around street riders and not around race practice,
Right.
not around racers.
Right.
So the encouragement is to get regular street riders to come to the track to, yes, have fun, but to also really learn and learn about how they can control their motorcycle better, and to learn the limits of the bike and themselves,
Right.
and to realize that there's more that they need to learn.
Right.
So that's why we do the classroom, and we separate the groups out and make it as less intimidating as possible.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that pushed me into track days were having been with SCCA for so many years, that race experience more than once saved my bacon on the streets when people did things. It was, you go into immediate, your body knows what to do, your hands know what to do, you just do it. I didn't have that same skill set in the bike, and I had someone run a red light one day when I was in the middle of the intersection, and they were actually accelerating at me. I remember seeing that. And I nailed the throttle and managed to just avoid the front of the car. And after that, I said, okay, not going to let myself be feeling like I had some skills, but not necessarily for the bike. And you know what? The racetrack is safer.
It is. Explain that. This is another concept that people don't get.
It really is safer. Number one, you're going to be wearing all the safety gear. Whether you rent it, whether you dig it out of your closet, whatever, you're going to have gear on. Number two, nobody's coming at you, or they shouldn't be coming at you, counter race or from the opposite direction. You're not going to have sand in the middle of the apex. You're not going to come around the corner and find a cow in the middle of the road. You're not going to suddenly have someone's dog run out at you. You're not going to have some kids throw a watermelon out the school bus window at you, which has happened.
I also say there's no texting teens.
Nope.
There's no, school buses, and we also, one of our slogans is no cops, no cars, no limits, but there are limits in that we have rules, right?
Right.
It's an organized event, and safety is our number one concern. But it allows you to really explore beyond what you could do on the street.
Sure.
And so my other thing about learning how to ride better, particularly cornering, is that you will learn so much in 1 or 2 days that would take you several seasons to learn.
Oh, sure. Yeah, most people don't really have a really good grasp of braking, for example. I think that's one of the most underutilized skill set that they can have. I've heard, how often have you had heard, oh, we had to layer down to keep from hitting something.
Right.
And you know darn well that bike, if you're braking properly, you can stop in way shorter a time than you could.
And what I found also is that the G-forces of braking is as uncomfortable as the G-forces or even that sensation of leaning.
Right.
Which is why when you see new track riders, they'll oftentimes go down the straightaway and start braking way early, usually halfway down the straightaway, and they've got all this time to stop. And so they start to go, oh, I can brake harder.
Yeah.
And so that translates to the street for safety.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, the next time you are out in the street and suddenly someone runs that stop sign and what have you, first of all, your brain is actually going to be picking up the signals way ahead of time because now you've been trained.
Right.
You're going to see things like the wheels starting to move and maybe the driver's not paying attention or things you might not have picked up before.
Right.
But you're definitely going to pick up your hands, your feet, your body. They're all going to know what to do, and more importantly, you're going to know what the bike can do too. There's no thinking involved, you just act.
All right. So track days are great. We've established that. Racing has really made you a really sharp rider, sharp car driver. Are there things that translate from the cars to the bike? Is that...
There are, and one of the reasons I kind of really picked up on the track days recently, I wanted to sharpen up my skill set in the car, because now we're doing these more major events rather than just the regional stuff. And the more seat time you can get, the better you get. The more you can spend time out on the track, on the edge, honing your skills, you're going to be much better. And one thing that really translated very well from bikes to cars, I've learned much more focus on the bikes. You have to have a lot sharper focus for a lot longer. With cars, at times when it was really hot, maybe I was tired, maybe it was the end of a long weekend, sometimes your focus would slip, and then as soon as it slips, your driving gets sloppy. With the bikes, I'm able to hold the focus longer, stay in that zone longer, and it's actually coming better.
Sometimes I guess I attribute that to the consequences seem greater. You feel more vulnerable when you're on a motorcycle.
Yeah. And what translated from the cars over to the bikes for me, I know how to read a track, I know how to see a line. It doesn't bother me at all if faster riders blast by me within inches. As long as they know what they're doing, do what you got to do. I'm staying right here on my line.
So one thing I know about some of our audience, much of our audience will be street riders.
Yep.
So they're going, well, I don't want to race, or I don't want to go on a track day and all that kind of stuff. So the message here, though, is that being trained at a high level is almost like in the military. You train for the worst scenario, and so that when it does happen, or even something like somebody pulls out in front of you on an intersection, your mind and body they know what to do.
Right. Or if you go out and maybe you're having fun in some twisties and you're having a great time, and all of a sudden you realize that road is tightening up on you. It's a decreasing radius and you're cooking it too fast. Now what do you do? If you've been trained on a bike and you know how to be able to drop your head further, because that's the most weight on your body, and it helps helps oversteer the bike, for example, it's going to help you, and you're going to know to do that automatically instead of maybe crossing the line and going head on into someone, or going off into the trees.
And what we find also with the track days is because you get so many opportunities to circulate that you visit turn one 30 times in a day.
Sure.
You don't do that on the street. So what that does is it allows you to really focus on your cornering technique, and that ultimately you will lean more than you ever probably have on the street, certainly safer than you've ever had. And then now that's in your muscle and mind, that if you get into that tight corner, you're not going to suddenly become Superman. It's only because you've done it before that you'll then do it again instead of going in the oncoming lane or into the guardrail.
Right. And that definitely beats a helicopter ride any day.
I say. So this has been great. The other thing I want to talk about, though, before we leave is clearly you're in a man's world traditionally. My wife rides, my daughter rides, so I have some insight into this.
Sure.
I've got stories. I mean, just as you do too. But you've doubled down in that you've got car racing. I mean, come on, that's as macho as it gets for a lot of people. And you're not only that, but you're winning. So you got challenges there, I imagine. I'd love to hear about that from the competitive perspective, but also just as a woman and how you're accepted or supported.
Right. For the most part, women have made such inroads into both worlds that it's a non-issue to a point. I will say, that being said, a couple of years ago I had a race at Pocono. Back and forth a little bit. I had the lead, I had to check up for someone, and a guy in a Porsche got by me. And on the last lap, coming up into the second infield section on him, I got up next to him in my little Honda Civic, which looks like you're going to use it to go get groceries. Passed him, won the race, last lap pass. He wouldn't get in the podium with me.
Oh, come on.
He jumped out of his car like he was angry, and he went storming off, and I'm like, okay, everything was clean. I don't know what happened here. That's why that was a little too much to take. I said, okay, that's on you, not me. Most of the time over the years, it's been pretty well accepted, although I did have one fellow competitor once say to me, "You drive pretty good for a girl."
Yeah,
it's like,
sure.
Okay, Skeeter, thanks.
I know my daughter, she likes to, put her hair, which is about your length, up under the helmet just so that she doesn't have that feeling of like, a girl just passed, this guy, and then suddenly he needs to somehow prove himself, and then he gets into trouble or something like that.
But no, the support has been really good, and in fact, I'm kind of not only enjoying it at the track and off the track. I've kind of gotten into a new project lately too, online magazine called Northeast Racer. It's northeastracer.com, and we literally just launched, and it's about motorsports within the Northeast area, so basically New England states into New York and that type of thing. And some of the first people who have been coming to me with stories and supportive have been men. And they're quite enthusiastic and quite happy to see kind of a grassroots regional publication coming up. So, in fact, this morning on the way over here, I just found out we're going to be partnering a little bit with On Track Karting. They just started a karting venue down at Foxwoods, and they're doing a competition for Special Olympics. The kids aren't going to drive the karts; they're going to have drivers for it, but the kids are going to participate in different games on the sidelines, which dictate when the drivers get to leave the pits.
Well, that's neat. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, it's a charity. They'll be raising money for Special Olympics, so it's kind of a nice little tie-in. So, really, the very people I compete with, because this is a fellow competitor in my class, have been some of the first ones to come up to us and congratulate us and be supportive.
Well, that's terrific. So, one last thing about the women in this sport or activity is that at track days, there's fair amount of women are coming to track days now.
There are. I found more women in the paddock at the motorcycle track days than I've been finding at the car. And the other nice thing about it, at least my experience has been, they've all been so nice. Sometimes that competition raises its head and you get kind of the standoffishness or maybe snarkiness. There hasn't been an ounce of that. They've been very good about coming up and introducing themselves and being, just good people.
That's great.
So
that's one of the greatest things about being at the track is the community. That's what I find when I was racing. I didn't often go because I was going to bring home another plastic trophy. It was to be there because I knew, that my friends were going to be there. And the intensity of racing and all that was just,
it brings you together.
Brings us together. Exactly.
You may go out and try to rip each other's jugular out on the track, and we've all been there. But that same person, the moment you're back in the paddock, if you're broken or something's missing, they're coming over to you with that part or with a tool or whatever. And that's what makes that community.
That's something that I think a lot of people don't really experience. I know, it's a unique group that we are involved with that. I do want to say, though, again, as street riders, there's a lot of that community that's there that you can find yourself. And whether it's your local hog group or whatever it is, forum, that really reach out and find out where you can really tap into that community. And it really makes a difference. It really makes riding just deeper and way more satisfying.
It does. And anybody who's on the fence, I would say try it. Come out and spectate. Come out, check it out. Check out Ken's website, ridinginthezone.com. Check out northeastracer.com. You can reach out to any of us if you have questions, if you want to come to the track, if you want to come as a spectator. Maybe you want to work as a volunteer at some of the races. Maybe you're not ready for that jump. We'll help you out and we'll get you hooked up because people did it to us.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
and
true.
life's too short.
It is. This is one of the things, if you've ever had the inkling to try to do this, is come out. Check it out first. There's no commitment right away. You can just see what the environment is like, and you're going to probably go, well, gee, if these people can do it, I'm pretty sure I can do it. And you'll also start to realize that all manner of motorcycles are able to be ridden on the racetrack. Again, it's a track day. It's like just a beautiful road with everybody going in the right direction and no texting teens.
Except for the turtles at Thompson last year.
Occasionally, they're in the little swampy area. Join in at northeastracer.com, come to ridinginthezone.com, sort of learn a little bit more about what we're up to, and consider doing a track day. If you have any questions, you can always contact us at our websites. That's it for this episode of Riding in the Zone. Join us next time.